each and every one of you guys. Many of you guys get to travel around to many kite festivals. I know several kite flyers here do, as well as I do, and I got to tell you, I am super impressed with this event. Like I said, we get to go through a lot of different ones. They're all great in their own way, but this is pretty special. The organization is tremendous. The format is tremendous. The hospitality is tremendous. The convenience of a fantastic hotel, the view. I'm totally overwhelmed by what's happened here today and the easygoing that the event has overall. So when Scott first asked me to do this talk, I said, my goodness, we're going to have a room full of kite makers. What am I going to talk about that they already don't know? So I said, we'll keep it spontaneous. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions. The Q&A thing works for me because it inspires a lot of different ideas and it gets me going and it gets me talking about the kites, a little bit of history. I will begin by giving my own personal history, how I got into this. Quite a few years ago, I had a manufacturing operation in Chatsworth, California, which we moved to Mexico. We were the largest manufacturer of that type of wall decor product. And while wining and dining some of my clients at the Seaport Village in San Diego, I used to see the kites out there on the grass, wishing that someday I would have the time to do something like that. My job with the company that I had was design and the artistic part of the product. And I'm an artist by trade, trained, school, but I'm the son also of a pretty well-known, famous graphic artist from Chile, who was my father, who was very well known in the trade of advertising and graphic design and photography. And I was basically born in a house full of art and surrounded by that sort of thing. My mother was a fashion designer, so it's kind of in the genes, you know, but it had to be polished and cultured, and that's where the schooling came from. And during the Carter recession, the business kind of went out, and I found myself throughout the coastal towns. I met Sandra, and we were at the beach, and decided to buy a kite, fell in love with it, started traveling up and down, started designing kites, going to different conventions, different shows, showing people my work, attending workshops, and the rest is history. And here I am today, 26 years later, still making kites and traveling around the world, and even my family is still amazed how it's provided with it, you know, the travel that you get to go all over the world with kites. They're still in disbelief of this sort of thing, you know. So we've done, like, you know, you heard during the announcements, I mean, the full gamut of kite design, all the way from box kites, cellular designs, to bigger kites such as these, with these round pieces, which are brand new. I just came out with these things. So we've done kites of, I mean, every type imaginable, and it keeps going. For me, it's been a journey more than the procedure, you know. And if you go onto my website, Gibian Kites Design, you will see the progression of the type of design. Tomorrow we're going to bring a kite out that includes sea life, some of the kites that I was into a few years back, which Eve owns now, and it consists of an aquarium, a tall kite with an aquarium in it. I've never done any kites for no reason whatsoever. You know, there's always a reason for it. It's been, like I said, that part of that journey. Such as the current series, it wasn't just a matter of putting fish on kites. It was more of a matter of putting those images onto a kite because that's what I saw through my diving mask or snorkeling mask. Both in Fiji and Tahiti, in Hawaii, in the Caribbean, just decided to do a little bit of fish life on kites as I saw them in the water. So in the images you see fish darting this way and that way. So it's more for me than just putting fish on kites. Another part of my game has been the whimsical type of kites, which I call festival kites, which in the beginning I did a large millipede, which I took to England for the first time, and it became a very, very, very famous, very popular kite. It made it to many covers of magazines, TV guides, and so forth. And it's all about the eyes. These eyes right here became very much of a trademark, and I've done it on squids, I've done it on fish, on bugs and insects, so that's been another aspect. But it's the childlike aspect of it that attracts me. So I call these festival kites, and I make them for the kids. But it's the kid in me that's also making me do this. So every so often I get away from the abstract art and some of the things that are a little bit more artsy, that are a little bit harder for people to identify with, and I go into this type of work right here, or the snail. They just recently came these round kites, which are still amazing me. I have figured out a way to make these fly actually without the tails by changing the sparring and doing a six-point bridle. And I can actually fly. I made one already, but it wasn't quite finished, so I couldn't bring it. So it's bridled from the outside on 6 points, and it's very stable without the tails. But the tails give it quite a bit of movement. I don't know if you saw the blue one. Tomorrow we'll fly some more of them, and you'll see the action that they create. So when I get a good idea in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day, sometimes I'll stop everything that I'm doing and I'll put it on paper so I don't forget it, and I'll look at it. And if it strikes me the same way 2 weeks later, I know I've got something really good, and I need to stop everything that I'm doing and get that kite done. Well, it's good, you know, in spite of the orders. So here come the phone calls. Ron, where's my kite? I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. It's just the way it goes, you know. Yeah. So that, it does happen from time to time. No, that's okay. They saw that kite. The big kite that you saw today, the big rectangular kite, it's part of a collection, again, with a theme in mind, which I call Archie Rhythm. I'm a professional musician. I travel a lot and I tour with different people. During the 70s and the early 80s, I traveled with quite a few acts. And at 58, I'm still in the music business. It's in my blood. I can't get rid of it. So that's my other life, the entertainment business. So I came up with the name Archie Rhythm. Rhythm for the instruments that I play, which is percussion, and architecture, which I've always been interested in. 10 years, well, let's see, 15 years ago now, when I came to Sky Circus in Chicago for the first time, I found myself in Daly Plaza in the middle of Chicago photographing a Picasso statue, which you're all probably very familiar with, the mandrel that stands there. And what I was really after was that particular design, to come up with my own mandrel, which I applied to the Astroglider, and it became a very popular kite which Premier began to make as well. While doing that, like I'm standing here right now looking at all those buildings, imagine standing in the middle of all those buildings and you see nothing but lines and grids and things like that and pyramids on top of the building there. I started to photograph that idea and thinking that maybe someday I could do something with that. 10 years later, I started the Archie Rhythm series. And I've made maybe 10 or 15 of these kites. Together, they make a whole lot of sense. They all stand by themselves, but once you see the whole collection in the sky, then you get the architectural aspect of that particular series. So, yet another reason for doing something. So, still on that journey. Now I'm on to these round kites, and I've got all these different ideas. And I'm still working with the creature kites. We'll be coming out with a lot more of these type of kites with the funny eyes. Some are very large, some are not so large. And the journey just continues. I never know what's going to trigger the next idea. I just know that I stop everything that I'm doing to see that through. If I've looked at that design for 2-3 weeks and it still strikes me the same way, I go right for it.